So my training and background is in economics. I have a PhD from Harvard and a BA from Yale, and I was a professor in economics and finance statistics for a decade in California. And I decided that economics didn't offer the framework for helping individuals to have a relationship to money that was going to be to cultivate well-being. And I thought there has to be something more out there that will help individuals understand how to have a healthy relationship to money. So I set out to look for that framework. And the first thing that we need is to understand ourselves. We need to understand our own relationship to money and why we get hung up in different ways when we are dealing with money. And so once we can understand ourselves and our own personalities and our own tendencies and traps, as well as our strengths, then we can start to have a chance to really cultivate this rich relationship to money, this prosperous, in a broad sense, relationship to money. But that's really going to require a relationship that's not only a healthy relationship that's not only to money, but it really ends up being about a healthy relationship to yourself and a healthy relationship that you can cultivate with others. So ultimately, this is about living a thriving life. And so this framework, which I call the prosperity architecture, is a very powerful new technology that we now have to cultivate well-being and healthy relationship to money quickly. And so that's what it enables us to do, is accelerate our personal development. If we stay in this current system, we're going to continually meet with crisis after crisis. This, because right now the excesses of, let's say, selfishness and greed and fear are creating extreme instability, extreme winners and losers, and that's only going to lead to continual separation and continual ups and downs. And no one, even the richest people in the world, cannot have well-being when the world is marked by this level of disparity and this level of instability and this level of fear and anxiety. So we all as stakeholders have a vested interest in creating a globe where we can help to reduce that level of disparity between winners and losers. And that by itself is going to reduce the instability in the system, and it's going to by itself reduce the level of fear that human beings are experiencing, and by itself start to introduce a new way that people can start to relate to their lives and give them the courage to actually do more with their lives. But when we're stuck in survival mode and everyone's afraid of what's going to happen the next moment, we can't relax. And everyone's suffering because of it, including the financial institutions, because crisis after crisis is not good for business. The reason that I believe that this is a framework for creating global prosperity is because this framework works at all levels. It works for individuals, it works for organizations, it works for nations, and it would work for the universe. And the principles are very simple. We must be able to nurture all human beings, be able to help all human beings to work to their highest potential, develop their value as human beings, help them to understand what their value is and be able to work to their highest value. There has to be a support structure, an organizational structure globally that supports this fulfillment of human potential. Because right now, the crisis that we're facing is really a crisis of humans not being able to fulfill their highest potential, which then results in high rates of unemployment,
so you're saying
crime.
It's
a very humanistic approach, and it's not
economical.
This is based on, let's say, a framework that is designed around natural laws. And natural laws say that we have to be able to set our direction, have a vision of what our direction should be that comes from within and also is appropriate for the context that we're living in, that we need to be able to grow and develop and master the context that we live in, both master ourselves, master our relationships, master our understanding of nature itself. And then we have to be able to live in a dynamically stable way. So if life was always changing every day, we couldn't actually have a thriving life. We need to figure out a way to be able to live a life where we can stay on track and be resilient to whatever comes up. Now, if human beings could actually figure out a way to really collaborate and really work together, all this kind of human suffering that we see wouldn't exist at all. It wouldn't have to exist. And so right now, what I see is that we're really trying as a universe to make the shift from me to we. But we don't quite have even a language or a framework or, let's say, a mimetic code, a cultural code that helps us to understand how do we really have both me and we both healthy. So we tried, communism, we tried socialism, we tried to have fairness, we tried to be able to give everyone resources to help everyone. But what was missing was this ability to really motivate individuals in a system where everyone was given the same amount of resources, and you could say in a way there was a leveling. And so the question is, how do you create a system that's both nurturing for all human beings, but at the same time motivating, inspiring, and allows people to rise to their fullest potential and gives them the motivation to be fully expressing their human potential? So that kind of economic system has not been given birth to. We haven't given a language to it. We don't have a language for it. And I think that's what this prosperity architecture offers us, is a way to start to conceive of a framework. This prosperity architecture that we're talking about, that can be used at all kinds of levels, both at the level of the globe, countries, organizations, and individuals. This is a bold proposition. It's not a wimpy proposition. And so if we're going to really take this seriously, the organization itself needs to do some level of introspection. Just like I was saying about individuals having a healthy relationship to money, if the organization is really going to get behind a new way of, a new creation of the world, it's going to have to look at inside and say, what is our own relationship to money as an organization? What is our own relationship to our business, our customer base, our employees? And model the kind of organization and relationship to money that it wants the world to also look like, and that it wants its customers to also be able to have it model the kind of relationship it hopes that its customers can have. So internally, the organization can do work to cultivate its own prosperity mindedness, its own way of relating to money in the healthiest way possible, and there's a framework.
It's like tools, isn't it?
It's really a tool. It's really a map for being able to first get a snapshot of where you are as an organization or as an individual or as a nation. Where are we? We can actually just give ourselves a rating on each of these different areas. And then we can start to say, okay, so where are our weaknesses and where are our strengths? So it's a technology for quick self-assessment, organizational assessment. And then from there, it maps out how we want to move to the highest levels in each of these areas. And it gives us a roadmap of what is the highest level with regards to your people policy? What is the highest level with regards to fulfilling potential? What is the roadmap for how to create healthy organization, collaboration, structure? And so there's a roadmap for how to be healthy in each of these areas. So it's a technology for development. And beyond that, there's different interrelationships between the different points, that when those interrelationships are nurtured, you can have success in different ways. So it really is just a very elegant map to nurture prosperity at all levels. To be a proponent of this prosperity architecture, not only for the globe, but for your own organization.
Or country.
Or your country or your organization, it's going to take a visionary, because I will acknowledge that the gap between where we are today and this vision is pretty wide. And so, and it's a little bit radical in a way to say, we need to be, as a nation and as a universe, as a world, helping the worst off to be better off. It's, we're mostly caught in our local self-interest, which is like, as long as my bank's doing okay, or as long as I'm doing okay, then I don't have to worry about what else is going on. But we have to understand what the sources of global instability is, and it's the kind of fear that we're all gripped by, and that's creating the booms and bust cycles. It's creating what happens in Greece when they just decide, they can't afford to pay back their debt, and that then has a ripple effect all through Europe and all through the United States and through the world. It's because, we don't individually and we don't as countries have a healthy, solid relationship to money that is marked by accountability, transparency, and the sense that we can sort of rise to our fullest potential. And what's interesting is, we're kind of, I think a lot of people have been wanting to blame Greece or Spain and say, well, it's their irresponsibility. But at the same time, the financial institutions and the European Union, they decided it would be a good idea to create this euro, which then created easy money in a way for Greece and Spain. So it enabled them. And so we have to understand always that we're all in the system together. And everyone has some level of culpability. And to point fingers at individuals is not going to be a way to solve the problem, because we're all part of one system. So in order to really start to create a healthier system, everyone's got to do their part. Everyone's got to own up to what it is and what part they played in the situation, including us as individuals. For example, taking easy money when the money was easy during the 2000s, early 2000s. I mean, we all have some level of culpability. And I think starting from there is the most healthy way to start moving forward. So the kind of leader we would need is someone who's brutally honest about themselves, about the country, about their organizations, and who also has the ability to have vision and the courage to say, hey, this is the right thing to do. And with the robustness of the human population, financial institutions are much, much better off, and there's more dynamism in the financial market. And so I believe that financial institutions have a great vested interest in being on the forefront of adopting this new prosperity architecture that can help move our world, our globe, into a new way of thinking about nurturing human beings. If one financial institution decides to really honestly adopt this prosperity architecture, adopt it internally so that it transforms its own relationship to money to become one that is healthy, strong, and one of full integrity, and also start to teach its customers how to have a healthy, prosperous relationship to money, I think that alone can start to have major ripple effects through the economy. Because if one bank does this and does it effectively and starts to really gain market share because it is of such utmost integrity, and it wins customers and fans because of that, loyal customers, because it's really got the customer's best interest at heart, and people start to really understand this, and people are becoming successful because they're really developing a healthy relationship to money. Then other financial institutions will have to adopt the prosperity architecture just because of competition, because the new competition is doing things that are actually beneficial to customers, winning customers over, winning market share, and as a result, it's changing the game. And so the prosperity architecture, as a game changer, is going to force other financial institutions to say, hey, we need to get on board. We need to start looking at ourselves and why we're not attracting the customers that we want to be attracting and not enabling our customers to be as successful as they could be. And what are they doing right that we're not doing right? Because this is actually, prosperity architecture is a formula for success. And so with the formula for success, how can you, if you really implement it correctly, there's no way you can fail. And then it becomes so attractive that other financial institutions just are curious, how do we do this? Just like when Apple's successful, now everyone wants to copy Apple and make tablets because they're the game changer. This prosperity architecture, to me, is going to be a game changer for financial institutions.